Good evening, YouTube. Good evening, everyone. And joining me again is my extremely regular guest, you James 1978.
Hello there, this is James Escroft, EU James 1978.
I'm going to have to guess a saying that jar, I think, the amount we would raise. But in any case, obviously for the audience, we at the time of recording, three episodes of the new ABC sitcom Selfie have been aired, so we're a little bit behind. I've seen the first two episodes. James and I have just literally watched the pilot together. I'm going to say that although I mainly watched it for Karen Gillan, and the premise is quite simplistic, when I watched it, I won't say this had a lot of laugh out loud jokes. I'm not hailing, well, based on the pilot, because obviously I've seen the first two episodes, but based on the pilot, I wouldn't say that it was the most hilarious sitcom ever, but actually, it was a better TV show than I expected. It might be a bit corny, it might be reminiscent of stuff I've seen before, but what isn't. But they have made a show that is socially relevant. They've made something that is very much about the world that we live in. And I actually think that a lot of it was extremely well done. James, and I'm bearing in mind, you did laugh at some parts of this, although you did also remark on the very obvious Pygmalion My Fair Lady angle, which, yes, she's actually called Eliza Dooley. See, I sometimes think you're harsher on things than you mean to be, because I think you did actually enjoy this.
It's a question of laughing at versus laughing with. And you say that this is relevant to the world we live in. The observation that people take too many selfies, that friends on Facebook and followers on Twitter, etc., aren't real friends, etc. That is such a level one observation. Congratulations, you've realised that the sky is blue. Being obsessed with social media and completely narcissistic leaves your life empty, meaningless, and ultimately alone. What do you want a cookie? there is... And of course, the Henry Higgins character is stuck up and is socially retarded to the point of being antisocial and bitter, and they hate each other at first, but then the sparks of love begin to bloom, and oh, for fuck's sake, it is entirely superficial. It is entirely level one. There is nothing original. There is nothing of relevance. There is nothing of substance. There is nothing of worth. And Jesus, otter fondling Christ, could Karen Gillan's accent have been any worse in this series? You're Scottish. Accept it.
I find her convincing, and apparently ABC do, because they've given this the green light. The pilot you just watched.
No. They gave Karen Gillan, villain, person who starred in Guardians of the Galaxy, the green light. You know, she could have sounded like a foghorn because people aren't tuning in to hear her talk. Alex.
I don't know what you mean. All right, I'll admit I do find Karen Gillan easy on the eye, but I also think she's
Yes. What we were talking about before we watched this? Do you want me to put that in a podcast?
Okay, point taken. But no, I obviously okay. I didn't. maybe I'm not great with accents, but she sounds convincing to me. Also, she's played Jean Shrimpton, who of course was English, and she sounded convincingly English to me. So obviously, I think
again, it's the halo effect. Forrest Whitaker in The Crying Game comes to mind. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think that his London accent was that bad. But no, apparently, it was the worst crime against the English language. Since the coining of the term YOLO.
When Americans try to sound English, they tend to overdo it. Particularly London, I think. That it's Forrest Whitaker really over-enunciated it. I suppose Eliza Dooley is such a...
Let's call her Eliza Doolittle with...
she's such an archetypal, what they call valley girl.
Yes.
That I wouldn't notice because it's such a stereotype. It's such a
she uses her phone to hide from the heartache and her true feelings. Come on, give me a break. Sorry, but we were talking about something else. Accents, yes. The fact that she is a walking stereotype, the fact that Professor Higgins is a walking stereotype, the fact that the marketing director was a walking stereotype, just happened to be played by a black man. But yes, you had a point to make.
Oh, did I? I don't know. I actually think this is at least a middling, or I would actually say it's an above average sitcom based on what I've seen. And it has a lot of potential. I actually posted something to your wall, but it's from the second episode. Where they're talking on a bench, and she says something like, "I love haters; they make me famous."
I did actually see that, but with no context, no understanding, no point of reference. I had. What is there? Some drama surrounding me again?
Well, I think it's something that you and me can sort of relate to. It's a lot easier to be infamous, I suppose. It's a lot easier to gain, to be noticed because of the people who hate you. And actually, in that same conversation, she explains, because he asks, why do you like or favourite negative comments? And he sort of explains that if you like an insult against you, it shows that you're not bothered by it. It doesn't hurt you. And he says something like, well, this works online, but does this work in real life? I think, right, that's episode 2, which you haven't seen, but I mean, there's a lot in this series. Actually, episode 2 was funnier. It's like, because the Higgins, as you're calling him, yes, we can't remember his name. The Higgins character caves in and makes a Facebook account, and Eliza says something like, whatever you do, don't give in and start stalking your exes. And he's looking at pictures of his exes, and one of them has a photo where she's breastfeeding her baby. Because obviously she's got married and she's had a kid since. And he somehow accidentally tags himself as the baby that's being breastfed. And then rather than leave it there, he goes and talks to her to try and explain that was a mistake. And it's just, that's a bit far-fetched. But the capturing the online experience, the Facebook addiction experience, well, they compare Facebook to crack. There is a lot that's well observed. This is a huge sort of sitcoms, for the most part, have been stuck in a rut, and this is a sitcom that, although it reminds me very strongly of a show called Samantha Who, which was cancelled after 2 seasons. Samantha has complete amnesia, and discovering who she had been before the amnesia, discovers that she wasn't a very good person. and it's about the development of the quote-unquote new person. So that had narration, and there were lots of similarities. This seems to be somewhat modelled on it. And actually, I don't think Samantha Who should have been... no relation to Doctor Who. I don't think Samantha Who should have been cancelled after 2 seasons, to be honest. But I mean, it's so in the world that we are living in. It's so about the online life. Whether it's really stating anything profound or important, I'm not sure. But I kind of knew you'd poo-poo this. But it's one of those things where you've got to acknowledge they've captured something.
Sorry, all I can think is a scene from, I think it was Family Guy. All of the TV executives are sitting around the big conference table trying to think of the premise for their next sitcom. How about a show in which there is a single white girl who has terrible relationships, works at a magazine, and lives in Manhattan? What, you mean like the last 7,000 series? Okay, let's make her work for a marketing company this time. Yes, let's. That's the greatest idea we've ever heard. It's fresh, it's new, it's original. To which one voice, my kindred spirit, listen to yourselves. We're just coming up with the same old crap over and over. Let's try something new, something original, something fresh. To which the head of the company takes a very heavily framed painting off the wall. The frame is made of solid walnuts, and whack, 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 whack. Beat originality down. Kill it before it breeds. And seriously, I can't get over the fact they actually called her Eliza Dooley. I don't want to do what you sometimes do, Alex, and say, oh, you just like it because of this, or oh, you just hate it because of that. But yeah, I can understand, given the rancid, well, not rancid, but the grey wallpaper paste of mediocrity that is the modern sitcom genre. I can see how by comparison, relatively speaking, this would be somehow deep and meaningful. But as I say, I am so level 4 about it. I have no interest in Karen Gillan, especially when she's trying to be American. You're Scottish, accept it. All I can think, you actually called her Eliza Dooley. You can say Eliza Dooley with a straight face. The bloopers for this series will be 10 times as long as the actual episodes, with people accidentally saying Eliza Doolittle over and over and over. But no, it's first they hate each other, but then they love each other. Then they love each other. Buffy the Vampire Slayer did this so well. Xander and Cordelia trapped in a basement. I hate you more. The romantic music swells. They kiss. We've really got to get out of here, don't we? Yes.
Something, James, I think a lot of the audience are thinking, and you may have missed this, is that there is a possibility that the two main characters may or may not end up together.
You mean there could be a will they or won't they storyline? When has
You've
when has that ever happened in fiction? Could this be something entirely original? Call Stephen Moffat!
I think you just coined that term. I think you need to hold on to that idea. That could be worth some money if you sold that to people. But
I saw. Ow! I just ruptured my tooth on my sarcasm. Ow! Ah! Damn that! Sorry, but yeah. So we.
Wow. Well, okay. I guess I didn't expect you to have a huge appreciation of this. Obviously, for me, actually, it's been so long since I just sat down and enjoyed a piece of popcorn television. This was like a I suppose a reminder of the old days for me. It was nostalgia. It's I'm tuning in for ABC's new sitcom.
You tuned in to see her in nothing but her bra and panties in the toilet.
Yes, well, there's similarly revealing pictures of Karen Gillan elsewhere, to be honest. Actually, though, that's one of the things, though, is Karen Gillan in real life was drunk and naked in a hotel, and that picture got removed. So it's quite a personal thing, and this happens to people. It's very relevant. That with Gunderson, I was watching the film Sex Tape, which doesn't involve a tape, because it's don't put, if you and your wife make a sex video, don't store it on a cloud. Clouds aren't secure. And that's been a big argument. And actually, somebody, I won't name them, said this, because it's happened to celebrities. I can't name the woman from... the woman from Game of Thrones. I can't think of her name. And it's actually happened to Matt Smith and his girlfriend. I had someone comment saying, well, clouds aren't secure. It's your own stupid fault if you didn't know that. Oh, and Emma Watson. 4chan have threatened Emma Watson.
Oh, yes, that threat is long over now, fortunately. It was simply an empty threat. Emma, to her credit, stuck to her guns. She was going to keep fighting for feminism, keep working as a goodwill ambassador for the UN, etc., on women's issues, regardless of what they did. But no, they didn't have her photos at all. I think some people are trying to say, oh, it was just a prank, it was just a joke. Yes, threatening to nude shame a woman because she's talking about feminist issues and then insisting that it's only a joke. I'm sorry, I can't even say anything funny about that. That is missing the point so hard. That is fucking yourself with the point in the skull. There is just nothing else that I can say.
Right. Yeah, well, screw. From what I know of 4chan, screw them. But
no, but again, the point is there is the MRA argument. There is no rape culture, and we're going to keep sending you rape threats until you stop claiming that there is. Yeah.
But that is another angle, actually, because actually this I can't remember if it's episode 1 or episode 2. I think episode 2 actually she uses the term slut shame, and actually there are a couple of things here. One, that she is described as being perfect and beautiful, when actually, as much as I do think Karen Gillan is hot, she is very slim. She may actually be a little bit underweight. And also, is the show itself slut-shamey? So there are a couple of potentially problematic areas.
I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on the Eliza Dooley thing. But you did mention something like there was the black managing director being grossly ignorant of Asian culture, saying he read in an article that Asians There are something like 3 billion Asians. They make up half of the planet's population. Asians, in inverted commas, like being kissed on the mouth as a sign of friendship. No, we don't. I'll send you the article.
Yeah.
As if you're in the wrong because I read it on the internet. But you mentioned that it's a black man being racially insensitive to an Asian man. No, the chances that this was written by white guys in their early 20s sitting in an apartment or an office somewhere in Manhattan or Los Angeles is unbelievably high. You wouldn't even get odds on it, it's such a certainty. So the fact that the actors themselves were black and Asian was ultimately irrelevant. But it's impossible to make make a series focus solely on a narcissistic valley girl who's obsessed with her looks, obsessed with popularity, without without slut shaming being an issue in the story and problematically. It's simply the nature of the beast. It's not, and again, it's not just that she's a valley girl. It is the fact that she is a sexually promiscuous valley girl because they have to cram as many stereotypes into her character as humanly possible. The fact that she was the ugly girl at school, but then she was the ugly duckling who became the swan. Seriously, give me a break.
I actually thought that the high school thing did give her some depth and made her sympathetic, and that she's always been lonely. I suppose that's the thing. She thought she escaped the cage of loneliness, but actually she never did.
Level 4. Your point is obvious. Move on. How many stories have there been? The original Pygmalion. The point of the story before it was Disneyfied and musicalised in My Fair Lady was that Eliza Doolittle wanted to better herself. Professor Higgins did it as a speech therapist, an elocutionist, whatever the term is, in order to prove his own standing, improve his own standing. His own qualifications. He showed her around like a trophy for a while, and then he dumped her, and she couldn't get into the society which she wanted to be in, because it's basically The Little Mermaid. She couldn't go back to her old life because she was no longer a part of it. She couldn't remain in her new life because it was entirely fake. So she died miserable and lonely. So again, this idea that, I've always been lonely, etc., etc. I tried to use beauty. Again, it is such an empty, overdone cliche. You say it's original. How? Maybe it's putting exactly the same tropes and cliches together in a slightly different order. And, look, they've got an Asian character and a black character this time, so it must be progressive. Talking about problematic issues. The Henry Higgins character wasn't automatically sexually attracted to Eliza Dooley, so obviously that meant he was gay.
Yes, well, it does seem to transpire in the next episode that he is indeed straight, or at least his exes do all seem to be female.
No, that's the entire point. The narcissist saying, "You don't fancy me, so obviously you're gay." Obviously,
that happens.
but that again, it's a cliche.
I know. Although there is a very funny line in episode 2 where he tries to explain to her, have you tried to be interested in something other than sex and people of the opposite sex? And she looks at him with consternation and says, what? You mean a lesbian?
Can we please end this podcast? It is literally making my head hurt.
Okay, so you're not a fan of the show Selfie.
And the award for understatement goes to...
Okay, well, my final thought is it's a show that shows promise, and if you watch American sitcoms, ABC have a show called Selfie, and the 3rd episode will have gone out yesterday as of the time of recording, and it stars Karen Gillan. And James, your final thought and goodbye.
May the great holy donkey rain fire down upon your cities, slaughter your children, and eat feast upon your eyes. May the people who created this be cursed for 7 generations. And why do you hate me, Alex? Why? Why?
And on that note, good night, YouTube. Good night, everyone.